hello, and welcome to the 24 Frames podcast, coming at you live, in some ways, on our live stream in my office at KTTZ FM. 24 Frames is a production of Texas Tech University and Texas Tech Public Media. We're going to go around the room real quick and introduce ourselves, starting at my left.
Tim Day. I'm
of Day at the Movies.
Yeah, dayatthemovies.com. I'm a film critic. I'm also a film professor. I work and teach for Arizona State University, teach film classes online. Then I also teach English and some film courses here at Texas Tech University.
And I'm Blaine Grimes. I teach some English courses at Texas Tech and at Lubbock Christian. And I write some film reviews here and there. And that's about it.
Jonathan Seaborn. I'm the production director here at KTTZ, and I go to movies.
And John is here for a very special reason, because today we are talking about The Revenant, which just last night, you'll be listening to this later, but last night it won the Golden Globe Award for Best Dramatic Movie. I should make a distinction there since there is a comedy section, won by The Martian, which is a whole nother podcast. But and it also won Best Director for Alejandro Iñárritu. I hope I'm saying that at least close. I worked on that all day, and I feel like I still blew it. But anyways, so we're going to be talking about The Revenant, but you can't talk about this film, I don't believe, without talking about its director, because he is an auteur, for better or worse, whether you like his movies or not, and it can be very divisive, as this movie has been somewhat. On Metacritic, it is at a 77, which is pretty positive if you're looking at from a Metacritic standpoint. But I want to talk about his filmography a little bit. I honestly like less of his movies than most people. The only one I really enjoy is Birdman, which came out last year with Michael Keaton. Amores Perros, I think I'm saying that right, is another one that I really enjoy. But for the most part, the others just do nothing for me. Babel, didn't even watch it all. Watched about the first 15 minutes and turned it off. 21 Grams I did enjoy, but it wasn't anything super special. And then Beautiful, or however you pronounce the title of that one. It's good. It's a little much. Tim, you're giving me a look. Tell me, how do you feel about director
Well, I would say
Iñárritu?
Beautiful, specifically the film you just mentioned, is a movie about a man who goes from being poor and sick and depressed to being really poor and sick and depressed. And I would say this is about his filmography. He seems to be a director that is intent on punishing every main character he has, putting them through the ringer emotionally, many times physically, spiritually. He wants to wring out all of his characters, and at some point it gets to be tough to watch. I mean, I would challenge anyone that wanted to learn more about this director to go and watch more than 2 of his films at a time, and not need to go eat a Snickers or something, get some sort of sugar rush, or go watch some cartoons or something, because a lot of his stuff is pretty depressing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Paul. I've tried to watch Babel twice, and have fallen asleep both times about 3/4 of the way through. Birdman is the one that I really like. I think a lot of his sort of personal flair or style as a director, like doing a lot of long takes, that work with Birdman because it's such a meta film as it is. So I think a lot of that stuff worked. But a lot of times the sort of like obsession with long takes comes off as gimmicky or arrogant a lot, or like he's showing off a lot of times.
Pretentious.
Yeah, very
word
pretentious.
I like to use.
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan, and certainly wasn't of The Revenant either.
John?
I've only seen Babel, Birdman, and
Revenant.
And I enjoyed all 3. I might be the odd man out on
That's
every
why
one of
you're
these.
here.
So I didn't enjoy either of the other 2 as much as I did Birdman. Birdman was definitely the best of the 3, but I've enjoyed them all. Problems with the other 2 we could talk about in a separate one, but I know we've talked about your problems with The Revenant, and I don't necessarily share all of those. Some of those I agree with, but overall, I don't have the same problems.
Well, let's get into the movie. So if you've seen the trailer, you've essentially seen the movie. They basically show you everything you need to know. The only question they leave lingering is, does he satisfy his revenge? The answer is yes, but the trailer basically tells us that you have a tracker in the late 1800s in America. Is it early?
1823.
Oh, okay. Is that the year? Okay.
1823
so it's
is when it takes
early
place.
1800s. Okay. So it's early 1800s. The West is being settled. Men are out to make their fortunes. And you sort of have, it's set up sort of in a militaristic type of way, this group of explorers who are getting beaver pelts and other animal pelts, I guess, for the American government or for a trade company. He mentions the trade company, doesn't he?
Yes.
And so in that, Hugh Glass, who is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, goes out scouting as they're trying to escape the Native Americans who are in the area, and he is mauled by a bear. The troop tries to take him along with them, but he's too wounded and too hurt to get through the punishing environment. And so he's left behind with two other explorers and his son to sort of wait it out and hide and hope that he recovers enough so they can either lead him out, or what they all believe is that he will eventually succumb to his injuries. He does not succumb to his injuries. Tom Hardy's character, who I can't think of, what's the first name? Fitzgerald? Is
His
that all
last
they?
name,
Okay,
Fitzgerald.
That's what I was going to say. Is Fitzgerald? I didn't know if they addressed him as a first name, but Fitzgerald essentially takes it upon himself to decide this is dangerous. It's going to end up killing all of us. So he tries to kill Hugh Glass. Hugh Glass's son comes upon him trying to murder his dad. Tries to stop it. Fitzgerald kills Hugh Glass's son in full view of Leonardo DiCaprio. And then he and the other trapper make their way back to base, and they leave him to die in a shallow grave. He does not die, however. He crawls himself out and begins a raging path of vengeance and revenge, to which he eventually comes back to the base, where now Fitzgerald has ran away from. He chases him down and kills him at the shore of the river. No, it doesn't kill him. Sends him down the river to the Native Americans who have happened upon this ordeal for them to kill him, which they do. And then he looks into the camera and cries. The Revenant. But there's a lot going on here in this film.
I think there's a few subplots.
Sure.
I think one of the most important subplots going on here is that DiCaprio's own son is, his own wife was murdered. That the family, because he married an Indian woman, and so his son is viewed by these other trappers as this half breed. There's a lot of sort of racial undertones, racism going on. There is an Indian daughter princess that's been kidnapped. There's a whole subplot going on there with the French trappers. Is this 1823? Is that the French Indian War? Is that going on in 1823? Is that what was? See, I'm not sure some of the historical context, but there's some other things going on, but so much of that is not told explicitly. It's very much told implicitly.
The war was long over. 1754 to 1763 was the French Indian War.
So the French were just hanging out, trapping stuff just like the...
Ho, ho, ho! Eating their cheese by the fire.
Well, and didn't this take place in... Was this not in Canada?
It takes place in Montana and
in
South
Montana,
Dakota.
okay, in South Dakota.
South Dakota.
But
which
I
is
think
really
they
close
shot
to the...
portions of it in Canada,
It was still the Louisiana Purchase, actually, in 1823.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were no states. They were out in the wild. I mean,
Yeah.
Louisiana Purchase, 1823. So.
Well, I just meant that as far as French settlers in Canada, it makes sense if it was near that area for
for
the
them
French to
coming
be
down.
there.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know the dates on that. There's someone online that's going to get really mad at me for... The French didn't come till whenever or whatever.
Ultimately, the subplots mean nothing to the overall film. I mean, there's points where they cross a little bit, but I say that the subplot, or at least we're shown the subplot through these dream sequence flashbacks of Leonardo DiCaprio, where Iñárritu is doing his best Terrence Malick impersonation, and his wife is floating over him whenever he's having difficult times and helping him pull through it spiritually. But I don't feel those types of dream sequences, is what I'll call them. To me, they didn't work because I never cared about Leonardo DiCaprio in the first place. They do a little bit of characterization in the beginning. You get the idea that Leonardo DiCaprio is brilliant, that he knows this territory and he knows how to hunt and trap better than anyone else. He's actually shown to be sort of a, even though he's being paid by this company and is supposed to be helping with this in the very opening scene, they're doing it. It's a very intricate, as they are loading up all the furs and trying to get out of there. Everyone has this distinct job. And what's Leonardo DiCaprio doing? He's out hunting. That's not what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be helping. So he's not even helping. He's out doing his own thing. Supposed to be keeping guard. He's not doing that because the Indians attack. And there's this giant scene, which is beautiful, by the way. We should mention
the opening sequence.
Yes. I should mention that the opening sequence, at least in the closest thing I can think of in film history, is the opening of Saving Private Ryan.
Which is the comparison I made in my review, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some long shots
yes.
that are well done.
Absolutely.
It's choreographed in an amazing way.
But on the characterization, I never really felt connected. There was no reason I felt I should care about Leonardo DiCaprio as I should care about anyone else that they put forth in that opening sequence. And yet immediately we are supposed to identify and care about him, and I absolutely never did.
I did. And going back to having things explicitly told to you or not, like, I felt like a lot of it, I didn't need to be told this stuff. It was very much implied through these like fever dreams, which I think a lot of it were sickness-induced dreams. I mean, after he's been attacked by this bear, and obviously his body is fighting severe infection. But I did feel, it opens up, or once you first see those flashbacks of the fact that some, I'm assuming American armed forces attacked this Indian village where he lived.
British. For some reason I got the feeling they were British.
The white man came to this Native American village where he lived with his family and killed his neighbors, his friends, his wife, set his son on fire, almost killed his son, and then he was left him and his son are the only two people to walk out. Like, I got that and felt connected. This man's lost everything. All he has is his boy. The reason he's familiar with the land and is able to hunt better and track better than all these people are because he lived in this type of environment with these Native Americans, just like the ones that are after him. And I don't know, it doesn't explicitly say whether or not it was a similar tribe to these people or if it was in a different how far away they were or anything like that. I don't believe. But I felt all that and I felt connected to it. The feeling connected to Leonardo DiCaprio and caring about what Glass was going through was never the problem. Like I said, I did have problems with other aspects, but I knew that was an issue that you had, but I didn't. And that scene at the end where he looks at the camera and is teary-eyed,
I had to stop my wife was laughing next to me, and I had to be like, stop, people are liking this.
I think that was him, accepting death. I think he laid there and died.
You think he laid there and died?
Yeah, he's bleeding from, I don't know.
I think the implication is that he, I've done everything that I have been tasked to do. I don't care about living anymore. I think it's one of those ending of a film that there's some implication that he's looking and the tear is, I am succumbing to death. Now, this is based on a true story.
Yeah.
The true story is that he lived another 10 years.
Yeah.
So he doesn't, we know that Hugh Glass, the man, did not die. But I think the film and Iñárritu and DiCaprio suggest, as the screen cuts to black, that there is some death there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would only just backing up a little bit to say, I think there's some characterization that goes on, and I'm going to go back to the idea of race, in that I think Fitzgerald is less likely to have disdain for Glass and his son if his son, because there's a lot of stuff early on about his son being this half-breed and all this racism that's going on. And I think if he would have had, in another situation, I don't think they would have had the hatred for him. I don't think Fitzgerald would have wanted to kill him. I mean, maybe he would have because he's just a dastardly guy. But so I think there's some things there that the film suggests early on that have some foundation in some racism. But again, a lot of that is implicit. So
well, speaking about being dastardly or him being, you had mentioned, a bad guy, Fitzgerald. There is some legitimacy to, at the end of the film, Fitzgerald's argument. They did have a deal. He did blink.
Well, you got to blink, right?
I mean, not. It does not justify killing his son.
Sure.
But he
did. No,
he forces the blink.
He did blink. Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think
that
so, because a forced blink would have been a quick blink. Leonardo DiCaprio very intentionally
he holds his eyes
closes
closed.
eyes and opens.
Okay, if I say, I'll put you out of your misery if you breathe.
That's different. That's different.
Hold on, let Blaine chime in here.
I think, yeah.
No, I mean, it seemed to me that he tried not to blink as long as he could, and then even when he did, like, his eyes are, like, he's holding them closed, trying not to blink. Like,
yes,
he didn't want to blink.
I'm not blinking, I'm closing my eyes. Don't kill me.
I took the eyes being closed as long as they were, because it wasn't like it was a very... I took it as
I agree with John. I took it as I'm thinking about it. Yes, I'm closing my eyes to death. But then it's at that moment that the sun comes upon.
Yeah.
And then everything changes kind of as a result. So I don't know. There's some more.
It doesn't change the movie for me, but I still I mean, it's to say all you got to do is blink. I took it as, man, Fitzgerald is a terrible person because everybody has to blink. You have to blink.
Well,
what else is...
He said it like 3 times,
yeah,
right? You have to blink. All you have to do is blink. All you have to do is blink. And he didn't. And then...
Exactly.
And maybe he was thinking. I mean,
yeah, I guess that would be the other implication he was thinking. But we all blink, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
I only blink on the weekends.
So, I mean, like I said, it's like me saying, I won't kill you. All you have to do is breathe and I won't kill you. Or not breathe.
But the other thing is, here's this guy who... can't move, can't talk.
Yeah.
His only real thing he can do is blink.
He could nod his head.
And
he could nod his head. He could say,
maybe.
I don't know, man.
And
He's got that
injury.
he's got that gashed throat that he could barely. I mean,
I don't know.
I think that
He could crawl later.
I do think that Fitzgerald.
he could do all kinds of stuff later.
And that's where some of my problems come in. I do think that Fitzgerald heavily persuades him and is pushing for it. He wants him to blink.
Yeah.
But I think that him pushing the fact that you need to do this for your son. You're going to hold on to your life and stay along live enough just to get your son killed.
He did.
Which he did for different reasons. I mean, it does not justify killing the son by any means. But they did. I took it as they did have a deal. He agreed to let him go.
The reality is that Fitzgerald didn't really care for the other trapper that was along with him anyway. But and certainly for racial reasons didn't care for Glass's son. But if Glass would have succumbed to his injuries and agreed to be killed, would his son have survived? I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say maybe Fitzgerald would have taken him back. He didn't like him, but hey, at least he respected the fact that he was a tracker and could have gotten them back to the fort. Maybe his son survives.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think that he wouldn't have killed his son if he didn't come at him like he did. I mean, like I said, it doesn't justify it, and he's quick to kill him because he doesn't care about him. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it bothers him. Although he did instantly, there was a look on old Thomas Harden's face of like, whoops.
Yeah.
You could tell that he knew that he had crossed a line, and it may have been like, I need to figure this out before. I can't remember the young guy's name. Yeah. The other kid comes back, and I get in trouble for murdering someone. You know, there's other elements there, but you could tell that he did. And everyone's talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's performance. Tom Hardy killed it.
Yeah, I even think that other trapper. I can't think of his name. He's
that kid.
Yeah, the kid. what is that actor's name? I cannot think of his name. He did fabulous too. He has
Will Poulter. He played Bridger.
Okay,
Bridger,
Will Poulter has more emotional nuance to his performance than any other character in the film. I mean, Tom Hardy's all id. He's a narcissistic id character. Leonardo DiCaprio he's nobility culture. Like, that's kind of how they set him up. He's coming from this noble culture. But Will Poulter's character has all of this range of emotions to play. He has to play not only this young, scared trapper who's in over his head with all this, but then he has to play all the guilt that is with going on with leaving him. Then he has to play all of the fact that turns out Leonardo DiCaprio was not dead, and he really gives a very strong, nuanced performance that has an array of emotional changes to where the other two, I mean, they're pretty much on beat the entire time. There's not much changing of how they play it. Leonardo DiCaprio is just through the whole movie, and Tom Hardy's just, well, I'm going to kill that boy the whole movie.
And I like Domhnall Gleeson as Captain Henry.
He's fantastic too. That's another good performance.
Again, small performance.
In fact, I cared more about him than I think I cared about any other character in the film.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And I would almost say, if you're going to go to explicit versus implicit, I would say there's more characterization that goes on from that ancillary character, that minor character in the film. There's more that the film has to say in terms of painting that character than I think it does with any of the other characters.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hardy's character, he's almost a Marvel villain. That's what I said in my review. I mean, he's so bad. I mean, there's some racial issues going on in there, but everyone else is racist. They're not that bad. Everyone else wants to stay alive. They're not that bad. We don't really have any interesting backstory, nothing to really make us identify with him. And that's what good villains do, is they have some sort of agenda that you can kind of say, I see where they're going with that, even if I don't agree with them. Yeah. I think that was one reason so many people liked, what's his name? Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, is because they could identify with something about him. And I just felt like that was lacking from really all of the main characters. Domhnall Gleeson was great, and
Will Poulter.
Was great. But other than that,
and going back to what started this little tangent that we just went on was the idea that I never felt like they really gave me anything to bite my teeth into with Leonardo DiCaprio. You had implied that, showing you that backstory was enough for you. It just wasn't for me. It was so dreamlike. There was nothing I could really identify with. There was nothing to connect to. It was a very dreamy landscape of an Indian village being burned down, which, don't get me wrong, in our history is a giant scar on us. But in the movie world has been done so many times, it means nothing to me. I mean, as far as how it works in a storytelling environment. It doesn't do anything for me. I need to know these people. I need to know why I should care. And they never delivered it up other than very stereotypical tropes of, the white man is burning down the Native Americans' village. And that's just too on the nose. It's done too many times. And I just felt like they were so busy trying to show us over and over all of Leonardo DiCaprio's pain that was just a way, hey, we got to throw something in there to make people care. This is what it will be. And it just didn't connect with me.
Well, I don't even think so much that it's the fact that it's on a personal level with just Leonardo DiCaprio. You understand that his wife was killed. Yeah. And
Which
all
his wife might have been a terrible person.
No, but I'm saying all he has left is his son.
Yeah.
So seeing his son get murdered, he now has nothing except for that goal. And maybe this is kind of what you're talking about with a part of him. Like, he's completed the only thing that he feels he has left to do. He no longer needs to try to supply some sort of better life for his offspring or try to get them to something greater. All he has left is revenge for the loss of his son. And take out the racial elements, take out the white man and Indian or whatever. Yeah. Here's this guy that watched his wife get murdered and saved his son after he was almost murdered and has vowed to, I will be here for you, to protect his son through then, and then watches his son get murdered.
Yeah.
That's the connection I call.
But apparently didn't go on a revenge quest to kill the people that killed his wife.
No. Yes, he did. He killed that lieutenant. That's what they kept saying. Did you really kill a lieutenant? He killed the guy.
In the moment. But I mean, I'm talking about like the whole troop of people, I guess, that may have burned down the village.
He was the only one that got out alive. They kept saying that. He's the only one that got out alive. You don't have to go on a revenge quest if you get to instantly do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and whatever, people can call me cold or whatever. I don't care about those characters getting killed.
Yeah.
So because I don't care about them, I don't care what it means to Leonardo DiCaprio's character. Who cares? Make me care about the central story's protagonist, and I will care about everything that happens to him. So had they made me care about Leonardo DiCaprio, to me, and this is just me, it works the opposite way. Make me care about him, I will care about everything that happens to him. But you can't force me to care about him by showing other people that he cares about dying. It means nothing to me. It's in a real world example would be a friend of a friend who has a wife or child or something that dies. It's tragic. It is tragic. Do not get me wrong. But it's that disconnection. There's several lines of people before it really hits you in a way that, oh my God, that's me. And that's what storytelling requires. It requires you to live vicariously through this character. And they never made that connection for me. Like I said, it sounds like it did it for you.
Yeah, I felt, I mean, like I said, I do have problems with the film. Lots. I don't think it's a perfect film. It was by no means my favorite film. I just enjoyed the film.
Yeah.
And I did feel connected to the character of Glass.
Yeah, some of it's as you're saying, Paul, is an emotional connection by proxy.
Yeah.
But let's go back to what is driving this film. We can say that it's a revenge film and it's a simple, I'm going to kill the guy that killed my son.
Yes.
But the entire process, I'm going to go back to this plot with the Indian daughter / princess or whoever she is, that the first raid by the Native Americans that takes place in the opening of the movie, which is great, is because they are seeking, this tribe is seeking this daughter, this girl who has been kidnapped. And we keep going back to this tribe as they're, chasing down, and a couple of times they run into one another. What's amazing to me is that if you look at the map, and look a little bit into the history, Glass traveled over 200 miles. And I think my daughter, when she saw the film, actually was saying that a lot of the lunar shots were a way of the film showing the passage of time, which I had not really thought about. But she kind of took that in, and she said it looked to be about 6 weeks by the lunar cycle that the movie portrayed. What's amazing then to me is that Glass can run into the very Frenchmen that have taken this woman captive, rescue her, and then in the moment of his revenge, run into that same tribe again, who has since, been reconnected with this woman, and they spare his life. So the contrivance on the larger plot that is driving the film is so silly, is so ridiculous that in this huge acreage, these things happen, but there's some other silly things like I'm going to eat raw fish even though I have a campfire 15 feet away.
He was starving, and that fish.
But you can't wait 10 minutes to put a nice sear on that on that fish. There's things like that. So, also at the end when I'm tracking the guy, how many people have been in this particular area? Can't you just follow his footprints? There's a scene where they're hiding behind trees and they don't know where the other one is. How? You're a tracker. Mm-hmm. You're a legendary tracker. And you can't find one guy with no one else around in the snow.
To argue against, he found him. You're talking about a base where you could literally go in any direction. And he...
Agreed.
But and then he finds him... He's been gone for a full day, and he's able to get down to
I totally agree. But then he chases them into the grove of the forest and can't find him. Mm-hmm. So that to me would be the point where I could have taken over and found a guy in the forest, follow the footprints. So I agree. Mm-hmm. They put him up to be this fantastic tracker. He finds him in a day and then on foot can't find him in a
Especially-
small forest.
Especially whenever Tom Hardy pops out from behind the rock and kills the captain. The captain should have been able to see the footprints that led to the rock and gone.
Agreed.
Yeah, to just add credence to what you're saying is that there are a lot of contrivances in the plot that make it all work out for our main character. Let's move into talking about the bear scene.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually wasn't all that impressed with the bear scene because I saw a smaller film. It's actually not that great of a film overall, but it's called Backcountry. It released earlier this year, and it has a bear attack scene, and it was the best bear attack scene I've ever seen. They didn't use any CG. It was all trick shots.
Wow.
It's much more brutal. Really cool. The movie's worth checking out because of that. So I was actually a little underwhelmed when I see this CG bear, tromping through the woods in the Revenant, where you're going for all this hyper realism and stuff like that. It kind of took me out of the movie. And then I think, like we mentioned, once he finally stabs him and he rolls over, the CG gets really distracting. And like you said, it was really long. It was well done, I guess, in a way. The way he shot the sequence and the way, the way the camera just sort of lingers on DiCaprio as he's getting turned around, but it didn't do a lot for me.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought it went on too long. I agree with Blaine. I thought the CGI got a little silly. I have not seen Backcountry, but give me The Edge with Anthony Hopkins for bear attacks. Alec Baldwin, Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins. Give me The Edge.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
over this. I know. Also, if you're Hugh Glass, you've been injured by said bear. Let's call him Bernie, because he doesn't have a name. Let's call him Bernie the bear. You've been injured by Bernie. You're there and you're injured. It's bad. Bernie has gone on to be with the Cubs. Is leaving you. Why?
I don't think that's true.
Oh, I totally think that's. I mean, it's
Why does he shoot him? Is that what you're?
Why? Or he's been left for dead. Why shoot the bear?
Well, he shot the bear as the bear came back at him.
But he was moving around.
He was moving around.
You and I spent a summer in Alaska.
Yeah, they
What
say
did
play
tell
dead.
us? Play dead.
But I think it was implied that the mama bear was going to get the cub bears to then have the cub bears come back. It
showed the cub bears coming down from the trees like they had gone.
I wish I could watch the movie with
because then
your
all
brain,
three.
Because what you got from different implications.
I totally did not get that. I totally got that Hugh Glass had a big ego and decided he was going to kill this bear no matter what, and went to get his gun and killed the bear. And I'm like, dude, just lay down.
Yeah, stop moving.
Stop
That's
moving.
What I kept thinking is
wait for the bear to leave, and you'll be okie dokie.
Yeah, I totally took it as that bear was going to get the cubs to either come back and practice hunting skills on him or come back and eat on him, something like that. And yeah, maybe if he had laid, that's because the bear went to them and turned around and then came back at him. Yeah, maybe if he didn't move, it would have gone away. But I took it as the bear was going to get its cub.
I
didn't think he was.
At least say this, that at that place and time, bear attack knowledge, there probably wasn't a lot of, hey, just play dead. There probably wasn't that type of knowledge.
But isn't that eventually what he does to escape said bear, Bernie?
No, he kills said bear.
Yeah.
Well, the first time, though, when the bear leaves him, he is essentially playing dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think he necessarily escapes the bear. I really think the bear's like, this thing is beyond a threat now. I'm going to go get my cubs and come back to it.
Huh. Well, maybe. I think however you read it, there's problems there, and there's great stuff there. And I think that's the biggest thing you can say about this film, is there was tons of ambition. I mean, let's talk about the ambition of this film. I should have looked up, I'm doing bad at my job, all of the details, but I know they shot in like 7 countries or something like that, and they shot the last part of it at the tip of Argentina because it was the only place where they could find snow, and they went all over the world to shoot this thing. People were quitting daily because of the conditions. Leonardo DiCaprio had said that it's the hardest shoot he's ever done, that he was swimming in sub-freezing waters, that constantly they were in threat of hypothermia, and all these great details have been made about this film. The best response, and that's where a lot of the press has come. Last night at the Golden Globes, Matt Lauer said, "I've read a lot about how tough this movie was to make." He didn't ask about the movie; he asked about how tough it was to make. A lot of the press is around how difficult this film was to make. All the quotes that you read are about how difficult this film was to make, which is fine. But Birth Movies Death, which is there's just birthmoviesdeath.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to birthmoviesdeath.com and see their response to that, which is, we don't care. Doesn't matter how hard the movie was to make. That does not matter. The only thing that matters is the story you're telling on the screen. I agree with that logic. I could care less how it was made. I tip my hat to them, but a lot of it, I think, stems from the pretentiousness of the director. To me, for some reason, just the fact that you would feel like you need to shoot this movie in the way that you shot it, risk people's life and limb, to me is just arrogance beyond arrogance, because there's no need for it. And I'm sure he was trying to get the realism on the screen and all of those things. But we're talking about a movie with a CGI bear that two people in this room thought looked like crap. It's not worth risking people's lives for. And last night in his award speech, he said, what was his line? It was about life and death too, because that's the only thing this movie has going for it, apparently, is the fact that they almost died making it. But his quote essentially was, pain is temporary, a movie lasts forever. Well, there's no need to risk people's life and limb to make that movie. And so I think the whole making of this film, luckily no one died because it would be on him, but the arrogance around it, and it comes across on screen. It's not just in the making of the movie. There's several times, maybe just two that I can think of right now, where Leonardo DiCaprio, the camera is in his face. So you're imagining this film being made, and they're in sub-freezing temperatures, and you're getting in close to do a close-up in someone's face, and he breathes, and the heat from his breath fogs the camera lens. Well, in a typical production, you say, cut, that's the end of that shot. But no, the director keeps it in the film.
I'm behind the camera.
Yes!
In case you forgot, because there's so many long takes, I'm still here, right? I mean, that's how it came across every time. And then those dream sequences. Like, you're going for this heightened sense of realism. So it's like Leonardo DiCaprio ate buffalo liver. You're filming in freezing conditions and everything. And then you've got these weird Terrence Malick-esque, bad Terrence Malick. Dream sequences that just, for me, totally took me out of whatever sense of realism they had going.
And there were so many moments that took me out of the film. The fog on the lens and the dream sequences, too. The one, and they're really bad. Not all of the CGI is terrible. The one where, I keep referencing my wife's laughter, so I'll reference my own. The moment he opens his eyes and his wife is floating above him, it's hilarious. It doesn't look good. She's like...
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Yeah, she's in like typical, what we think of Native American Hollywood garb. She's like in this Pocahontas outfit.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's floating and rotating above his head. It's cheap. It's cheesy. It doesn't look good. It's terrible.
Yeah, not defending the CGI at all. I don't think that most of the bear didn't bother me. There's a part where they see like the moose or the kayak or whatever it is. Those did not look good. But most of the dream sequences didn't bother me. Some of it, once again, some of the CGI was not great. I'm not going to defend that. The breath on the lens, I thought that was a choice made to make you feel cold. You can feel that you can see his breath, like, and it especially helped that the night I went, it was the night that it snowed again. I walked outside and there was like an inch of snow in my car, and it was freezing. I felt freezing the entire movie. They really captured the feeling of being.
But can't you do that and not have that fog go on to the camera?
I thought that was an artistic choice. I mean, I thought it was a choice.
For that matter, you could do it CGI afterward. You can do the breath with.
Yeah, I agree with Blaine. It was a look at me.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like, here's another way to help the audience experience. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was an artistic choice. I didn't think it was,
because he transitions from that shot. It transitions to clouds, and then goes down and transitions into Fitzgerald's smoke from his pipe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a
transitional device.
Yes.
He utilizes it in a correct way, but it's the choice that offends me. The fact that you would ever choose to use it as a transitional device is what offends me about it, because it's so arrogant.
I would say, if you want to talk about arrogance and indulgence,
yes,
and go even further, he shot the movie chronologically. Even though most people said it was not possible. It also meant that Tom Hardy had to give up on Suicide Squad as a result. The movie started with $35 million budget. It jumped to, or maybe it was 35 in pre-production, moved to 60 million, ballooned to 90 in production, and with marketing ended at 135. So even at 60 I believe on production day, 60 million. But they say that shooting chronologically alone kicked at 6. Alone.
Wow.
Just, and that's because, okay, this next scene is a morning scene. Yeah. Okay, we're going to shoot in the morning. Okay, the next scene is, no one shoots day for night anymore. And so, okay, we're going to have to leave this crew and the union guys and all these, people or whatever for, the next 14 hours till we wait for the moon shot we want to get. So.
And for what?
Yes. Because I won the Best Director award last year at the Academies, and I am Alejandro Inarritu, and I can do whatever I want now.
But let's say that I'm not disagreeing that there isn't some arrogance on his part, and that some of this stuff is pointless. But I would argue that maybe if it was. And I don't even necessarily care. I'm not saying I even care for this director, but I would argue that if it was a director that maybe you really cared for and a film that you really liked, you may be saying some of these things are cool. You may be being like, it was cool that he shot it chronologically.
No director I respect would make these choices. So I feel like I can't even answer that question. Christopher Nolan would never breathe fog onto the camera.
And I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like the shooting chronologically, using all natural light, those types of things.
I'm actually fine with the all natural light. I think that's a good choice for a film like this. I wish more.
I think that's one of the reasons to see the film. Actually,
yeah. One of my favorite eras of filmmaking is the French New Wave, and they all use natural and available light. I think it's a great choice.
That's why you love the French in the movie.
That choice doesn't bother me, but it's these other choices. Shooting chronologically, unless you're shooting a single take film, means nothing. There's no point to it. It is arrogant and it's irresponsible, especially when you're talking about millions of dollars. Now, of course, now he can rub it in our faces because this movie is going to make its budget back up, and even some. It won the box office this weekend. It didn't end up winning?
No.
Tell me Star Wars won.
Star Wars won. The last I heard,
yes,
it won't win next weekend.
No,
I hate to say Ride Along 2 is going to knock Star Wars off the box office.
I don't think Ride Along 2 is going to knock.
Ride Along 2 will make $30 or $40 million in opening. It's PG-13.
Everything I read,
I hate to say it, but I'm afraid that's
everything I read. I thought was saying that The Revenant was going to upset.
I think it narrowly missed.
Oh, okay. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, like 38 to 41 or something like that.
Yeah, it was within a couple $1 million.
So what did
R-rated, I think, is the reason, and length.
Yeah. And what did The Revenant end up being?
It was.
But
you said it was like 38 to 41?
Yeah, something like that.
It was close.
All indications kind of point to that it'll at least make up its money. So he'll get to say all his choices were correct and every decision he made was right, and he won the best picture, so obviously the film was good and all that.
Just under 40.
He won the best picture in the Oscars.
Just under 40.
Just under 40.
You don't think he'll win best picture in the Oscars?
No.
Well, that's good news. Real quick, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but I want to touch on the length of the film. It's way too long. The photography by Emmanuel Lubezki, also known as Chivo, is beautiful. The guy is he and Roger Deakins are probably 1 and 2 for the best living cinematographers right now who are still working.
And Paul Hunton.
No. And the film is absolutely gorgeous. I love the scenery. But because of its length, it was so repetitious because there's only so many shots you can get looking up through trees. There's only so many wide shots you can get of mountains in the distance. There's only so many shots you can get of beautiful clouds before you go, okay.
And birth canals that Leonardo DiCaprio crawl out of.
Yeah, carcass vaginas were prominent in this film.
Yes.
And it's just too much. It's just too much. It's too repetitive. And all it shows is, once again, in my opinion, the director's arrogance. Because you could easily trim 20 to 30 minutes off this film and lose absolutely nothing. In fact, you'd make it a better movie.
But I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree that it is too long, and you do the all of the B-roll and all these other things. It's way repetitive. It is a lot of tips of trees.
There's a lot. The first one, I was like, man, that's beautiful.
No, the whole film is beautiful. It looks amazing.
But they're long. I mean, one of the things I think you and I were talking about before is, there's a scene where they're catching snowflakes on their tongue, and it goes on way too long.
It's awkward.
Way too long. But and I feel like we're all sort of, kind of piling on this movie. I gave it a mild recommend, and I would say, I don't want to take over host duties, but for us to go around and maybe say the things we liked. I mean, I liked the four performances.
I have positives. Sometimes, here's my thing, people, and it says positives. There's two of them at the bottom.
Yeah, as in terms of as sometimes cardboard cutout as some of these characters are that we've talked about. The performances by the four primaries actors here, the two main ones, DiCaprio and Hardy, and then the two other ones with Domhnall Gleeson and Will Poulter, I guess, are everybody's solid. Cinematography, great. Opening sequence, unbelievable. The music I thought the score was very well done. You didn't. I didn't like it. See, I thought some of the experimental stuff. I kind of dug that.
I enjoyed it. So
there are. I gave it a mild recommend, but I think you have to. It was interesting because my daughter went with me to see the film and knew nothing except Leonardo DiCaprio's in it, and then she saw on the Golden Globes the sort of trailer roll they do of kind of here's the movie that's up for Best Picture. And I said, if you would have seen a trailer or seen that before we went, would you have gone? And she said, less likely. Only would have gone because probably DiCaprio.
Wow.
So people will go for DiCaprio. A lot of people are going because of him, because of his star power. Tom Hardy. There are some things here to enjoy, but there are some things that are eye-rolling bad. And, I think Birth Movies Death, or maybe it was someone else that I read, compared it to, Jackass circa 1823 episode where you're just putting these guys through the ringer. And some of it is just goofy.
Yeah. Painful. Real quick before Blaine says his positives and I get around to mine, I want to say my last arrogant note is, did the meteor from Birdman really have to make an appearance?
It was ridiculous.
Right? What a ridiculous thing.
I wondered,
include.
What is going on with the meteor?
It's from Birdman. I feel like it's a callback to his last freaking movie. Anyways, Blaine.
Yeah, so, honestly, I don't know that I have one thing that I can just say, this is great. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's like, this was good, but. So, Emmanuel Lubezki is my favorite living cinematographer, and he's Terrence Malick's cinematographer. So again, the film is beautiful, but still, it feels like, and I know Iñárritu didn't do this, but it feels like he said, hey, could you do some stuff that looks like the stuff you do for Terrence Malick? Because there's a beautiful shot of the sparks from a fire floating up in the air. Looks beautiful. And then there's stuff that, again, is straight out of the Malick playbook, like close-up shots of ants that Iñárritu doesn't normally use in his sort of catalog of, formal devices. So it's a beautiful film. It's worth going to see, to just look at. At the same time, some of that still feels derivative to me.
I guess I can say the things I didn't like, since I've been
saying all the things you did like.
Like about it.
That's fair.
I do think that he came back from too much. I did not like one of my biggest problems, which we talked about, was the leg. It looked like that was a full break, and you're talking within a few weeks able to, with the help of a crutch, walk around pretty easily, and then another couple weeks later, you're running full force. I think that the break was too much to come back from. I thought that the Indian magic to heal his infections was a little hokey.
I like that scene.
Really?
I cared about that character.
I'm not saying I didn't care about the Indian. I just thought that it was...
Oh, just the...
Maybe because I'm always...
It's like a sports montage, but it was the tint.
Of the three birth sequences, I liked it the best.
Yeah, see,
him coming out of the teepee.
I don't know. Supernatural stuff always turns me. I'm not a big fan of anyways, supernatural element. That I thought it was just, that's what saved him, is this Native American holistic burning plant on your infected wounds ritual is what saves him. A little
It's coconut oil.
Well, yeah.
I hear it was coconut oil.
Yeah,
Coconut
you can
oil.
put coconut oil on anything. And it heals it. But no, I think that's fair. Yeah.
So how he was healed and then the amount that he came back from was too much. I think you beat him up too much. The bear attack was enough for me.
Yeah.
You didn't have to throw him off a cliff. You didn't have to throw him over a waterfall. You didn't have to do all the other stuff. And I thought
I
they.
agree. I
river.
think at the scene where he came out of the teepee after being with the sort of old medicine man or whatever that he met, which I actually liked that sequence. But I think, I mean, I agree that the healing thing was a little much, but I liked the sequence with that character. I think at that point he could have gone from there to the fort, but the whole run down by the Indians, jump off the cliff, horse, going full Skywalker on the horse.
And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
And all of that I thought was so unnecessary. I was just ready to move on.
Yeah, it was like I said. They put him through to it, and I agree. I liked the character. I liked the sequence. I just wish that it wasn't some it felt like magic healed him, and I thought it was just too easy, too convenient.
Magic must have saved that leg break because when he crawls out of his shallow grave, that leg's pointing the opposite direction, meaning full break. He never sets it. It never once shows him. I mean, you have to set that break if you're ever going to.
You do see two sticks tied to his leg at one point, but that's the closest you get to it.
Yeah, and it's just.
He had a chance to ice it though.
Yeah, he did have a chance. That's true. He iced it. Maybe that's what did it. What I enjoyed about the film, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, is I did feel like if they were saying anything in this film, it was about culture. And to me, it felt like it was about two different cultures. The nobility culture represented by Hugh Glass and sort of a narcissistic, nihilist culture that was representative in Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy never cares about anybody but himself. He also always makes decisions for himself that benefit himself, and then he said God told him to do it. I think that happens twice, where he says, God wanted me to do this. He told me to do this. And where Leonardo DiCaprio's character is all about nobility and honor and sacrifice and those types of things. And if I could latch on to anything in this film that made me feel good or anything else, it was that. It was that idea of there's these two cultures and this one prevails, which is the nobility culture. But overall, I just didn't like it. My review, I gave it a 1. Don't recommend it. Don't think you should see it. But I just, if there's anything in that film to enjoy, I at least like
a 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Wow, 20%.
Yeah, I did not like this film.
Right. And yours, you had a 6 out of 10?
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Where can we find your review?
Dayatthemovies.com. I gave it a mild recommend, but that's basic. That's based on performances. That's based on camera work. That's based on some of the good things we talked about in the movie.
Yeah.
I did get called out by a friend of mine, Shane Nassiri, who said, because I said, I wouldn't mind this film winning a cinematography Oscar and an acting Oscar for Leonardo DiCaprio. And he said, how can you give a movie that can win 2 Oscars a 1? And that's fair. I think that's fair. So maybe my number should be a little bit higher. But Leonardo DiCaprio was wonderful in this, as much as.
But he shouldn't have won.
Don't think so?
No, I don't think he should win the Best Actor. Not for this film. He's going to win Golden Globes. He's going to win Oscars on the greater body of his work and the fact that he's never won before, because these award shows, including the Oscars, are political. But I would not have given him this award based on
who was better this year, though. I couldn't. I'm fine with that idea, but I couldn't think of a better performance. And I haven't seen everything that was nominated. In fact, off the top of my head, I can't even remember everything that was nominated. But of what I saw, I felt like he had the best performance. And that's what it comes down to, is years, too. I mean, There Will Be Blood, I thought was fantastic, but it also had to go up against No Country for Old Men, which was even better. And so it's that who are you up against type of thing. Because you're right, it's not his best performance. He has far superior performances.
And he will win on the body of his work.
Yeah. But I guess you would have to say, well, what about this guy's performance? And me go, oh, yeah, it was better. Blaine, where can we find your review and tell us in summation?
Sure. You can find my review at realworldtheology.com. That's real with 2 E's. And then I think I normally don't number my reviews. If I had to, I would put this around a 5. So, I mean, because it is so beautiful, there are some things I liked about it, but it's just such a mixed bag. If you are going to go see it, I would recommend seeing it in theaters, because it needs to be seen on the big screen. It's not a renter for sure. But I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm never going to see it again.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's far from perfect. It's by no means like my favorite movie of either the director or any of the actors, but I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable film. I really enjoyed Tom Hardy's performance. I know that Leonardo DiCaprio was the best character, or the main character, but my favorite line or story is the and my father found God and God was a squirrel. That story was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Fantastic. Well, I think that does it for this edition of the 24 Frames podcast. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Check out our Periscope. You can also find us on Instagram is another big one. YouTube. You'll want to check out our YouTube page, Vimeo page, and kttz.org. 24 Frames is a production of Texas Tech University.